Podcasting from the Gowanus section in Brooklyn, New York. This is the Brooklyn Baritone Podcast. What a fantastic morning it is here, but whenever you guys choose to listen to this, where's the morning, like me, afternoon, evening, night, late at night, I always appreciate the support, but I will definitely always appreciate the likes, the looks, and you hitting the subscribe and notification bell on my YouTube channel, Brooklyn Baritone, but of course, no pressure. You ain't forced to do anything that you don't want to do. Speaking about doing things you don't want to do, you have to learn how to do these things when you are in a relationship with people, or at least you understand who people are that you share this great green earth with. When you are in a relationship, whether it's family members, your spouse, boyfriend, girlfriend, your co-workers, your associates, your neighbors in the street, your fellow people in the community, wherever it is, train strap hangers, you have to understand who you're around as best as you possibly can, so you know how to engage these people. You have to gauge these people so you know how to engage them. What I believe Maya Angelou said, the gist of it, what she said, when someone shows you who they really are, then you have to take that as it's worth. So we have to understand when we're exposed to something or someone of what it truly is or what it is truly capable of, you have to take that into extreme consideration. And see, this is where I am at the point now where I come out here and I try my best to make the connection that I know a lot of people don't make when it comes to following Elohim, our creator, the creator of everything. Yes, the God of the Bible, and Yeshua HaMashiach. That is Jesus Christ in more simple English terms. So when I reflect of what I've been through, when I learned what I've learned, especially as a young child, one thing that disturbs me is through science, and many people really use science to try and debate and debunk what I follow as faith. I don't like saying religion or Christianity because that's been beaten down so much times, and so much people who are who supposedly are Christians, they don't act like Christ, not one bit. And this is what the misrepresentation is, and this is where the disconnect happens for other people that try to make sense of the Bible or the book, and they say, hey, you people are acting like this, I don't want anything to do with this God. But let me go forward. Many things that I've learned, and I learned when I was a child, with so much innocence, with so much wonder, with so much eagerness to learn how the world really was formed, how things work the way they do. When I learned about the Piltdown Man, when I learned about the embryonic table, when I learned about so much things, of course, these are things that fly in the face of what I believe in now. What makes it hard for many parents now to, if they want to raise Christ in their heart, it's going to be a challenge. And a lot of times it turns out to be a disaster. Because now when I learned older that these things that I learned when I was a child were all false. These things that I'm learning in textbooks were all debunked a whole century before I was even born. So why are these things that have been debunked by the very same scientific community, why am I still learning this over 100 years later? It has to be an agenda. So now I have to look at, who put these things out, why they put these things out. Then you start looking at everything else. You look at other things like, why are people always pushing certain types of control and influence? Now you have to start looking at, why are only certain things talked about and certain things left out? You see, you have to have a proper mind to discern the world around you. And this is why I do what I do. This is why I like to talk to you. I don't want to be like doom and gloom, but you have to take the good and the bad. That's what this world is right now. There's so many things that are not the way they're supposed to be. There's so many things that are destructive of what other people do to others, what other people allow. Now, I enjoy the fact that there are beautiful people out there, even people who have never been to church or even got turned away from the church, they still have in their heart to help their fellow man. There are people who bring up organizations that actually have the intention to help people. There are lawmakers that have the intention to make order a thing so people can live better. There's always going to be people like that because these things are ingrained in our hearts from our Creator. But then now when you look at certain agendas, you look at the kind of music, you look at the kind of media that's always blasted to us. Media is programming, media and entertainment. Remember, entertainment, as I always say, literally translates to draw you in and to hold you there. So things that draw you in and hold you there, and then we have to look at the things that we're always processing all the time. How is that making us better? I'm going to come out and say it. The whole thing that so many people, about the vaccines. Hey, you got your vaccine. No, I don't trust them. I'm going to kind of lean to the side of not really trusting them only because of the history and track record. And then at the same time, if they're really here to help us, why is it that these companies will not be held liable legally for any damages? And it's not like you're just going to have dry eyes, you're going to have itchy skin. The damages that can happen through a lot of these vaccines and procedures damage you for the rest of your life. And now you have that burden, and then the people around you have that burden to deal with. Worst case scenario, you may die from certain things. I get it. Nothing's perfect. But at the same time, if we're being forced to break, we're basically led down the path to be forced to live and do certain things now, but then there is a good chance of things going wrong. And at the same time, why are we only focusing on certain things? What I said in the past is like, okay, COVID is a virus. I've had it. I've been through it. It's not fun, but then you treat it like any other virus. Prevention is the best medicine. If you can eat properly and live properly, get good amounts of sleep and all that stuff, you have a better chance of fighting these things off. And if you do get it, you still attack it in the proper manner and it will be gone. It won't be a great deal. Now, almost I believe it's more than 90% of people, they recover from these things, but then it's being advertised to us that every other person is dropping dead from it. The coronavirus has always been here. The flu is still, what I understand, one of the biggest heavyweight hitters as far as viruses are concerned. More people have died consistently every year. We would get commercials about, your flu shot, but we never had it pushed to us in that degree. I need to understand that not just vaccines and certain ordinances are going to save us. You have to change your lifestyle. And this is what the system of man, especially in this country, has failed to do. They're quick to push many things, agendas, celebrities, laws, politicians, everything dealing with money and major influence. But then when it comes to actually making you better, you don't see a commercial for Got Water. You see for Got Milk. Milk produces a lot of phlegm in a lot of people, whether you're lactose intolerant highly or not. You don't really see people really pushing vegetables and certain kind of vegetables. You see pork, the other white meat. You see all types of meats out there. Am I going to say eating meat is wrong? No, but everything in moderation, and the quality of meats too. These are little things that I've talked about in the past where it links to listen, don't just follow everything that's pushed in front of your face. Even when you hear about the word, when you look at the types of things, words concerning the word, God's word, our Creator's word, we only see certain things about it. We always see the flashy, big mega churches out there. We always see the pastor pulling up in the latest Benz or whatever vehicle he wants to floss in and flex in. We don't talk about the local churches that are really about that word, that are really about improving the community. You don't even have to come to our church. Our mission is to make everything and everyone better as best as we possibly can. No one advertises that. Why is that? You have to understand certain ordinances and laws and movements are not for our benefit. I will always beg to differ as well. Why are certain movements and organizations allowed to prosper? Case in point, this is what I use in personal conversations with a lot of people around me. So people who know me, it's nothing new. Some of you people who are listening, I hope it sparks a thought process in you. When I look at BLM or even the NAACP and certain other organizations for people of color, for their advancement, but then others are vilified. So BLM, NAACP, others like them, they're allowed to operate, which is cool. I'm not saying they have not helped people, But then in the core of it, you have to look at why certain ones allowed to flourish. Why is it that the Black Panther movement was not allowed to flourish when they were at the core looking to uplift people? They were basically portrayed as thugs in the street with guns. When the WIC program, as we know it today, to help sustain mothers and children, came from the Black Panther movement. They were trying to educate their people and protect their people, but they were vilified and taken down. Same thing when I say, as Malcolm X and Martin Luther King started getting on a kind of specific wavelength at a certain point in their life and careers, they were chopped down. Same thing with Tulsa, Oklahoma in 1921. There's one of the best pinnacles of colored people, black people in this country doing their thing. And they were cut down just for ignorant hatred. So why is it that certain movements are allowed to prosper and others are not? So I want you guys to think more of the system of man. There are things going on that we have been trained to be desensitized to. We have to use our minds and our brains and our God-given intellects to have discernment of what's going on. I get it. Everyone's not going to agree with it. Some people are not going to agree with it until later on in time. And we have to look at historically the things that have happened, the things, why we are where we are now. I want you guys to think more about certain things. Now, I don't have a faith in our Creator simply because I have a lack of faith in the systems of man. It's just I've learned to have a lack of faith, but then you have to still connect the dots on your own. I'm not going to say just follow Jesus and just not give you anything to go on or just blindly follow him. Some people can do it and they get it. Those people, they have their own, what's the word I am looking for? Oh boy, whatever. I'm going to get it. They have their own experiences that made them change, and they understand on a certain level that many people may not understand. But then I'm not going to tell you just to follow something if there's no meat behind it. I'm not going to say, oh, that didn't work for you, then try this. No, you have to connect the dots on your own. You have to do your own research. You can't just go off of arguments, because people may want to have argued with me. Online, you see comments all the time and arguments all the time. You can't just really base what you want off of this arguments. I get it. You want to have debates. You want to be convinced with certain things, but then you have to not come with pride. Okay? You can't come with a prideful mind and a prideful heart. You have to definitely be open. You have to understand things outside of what you understand. Because many people, like I've done in the past, I've only wanted to learn things simply for the fact of learning how to argue with Christians and stump them. That was my whole MO. And I know when I talk to a lot of people and see a lot of people talk, that's basically why they believe in science, why they believe in atheism, why they believe in other things too. They don't really learn things based on the fact of trying to better themselves. Now I get it. Yeah, it's not going to be for everybody. And I'm not ever going to I'm not going to have the intentions of disrespecting anyone with what they believe in or their walks in life, because many people will have different experiences and I will respect that. And that's how you're supposed to move. And unfortunately, a lot of people who call themselves Christians don't respect that. You can't be fire and brimstone, because did Yeshua come down to people on their level of understanding with fire and brimstone? He did not. You know, he came hard for the people who knew who he was, or people who were supposed to know the word, but they were not practicing it. People who did not practice it, people who didn't know about God, people who probably didn't want anything to do with God or had a misunderstanding. He came to them with love and patience and gave them enough meat to follow. It's your choice. This is what I offer. This is what I'm about. This is what I'm truly about. But it's still your choice. But I'm not going to jump down your throat. So I don't understand why people who follow Christ love to jump down people's throat or have fire. That's not for you to do. I get it. Because when I just started my path, I had that in me, but then I learned, listen, you can't do that, bro. I was at a place where people could have jumped down my throat and they didn't. It's come from a place of love. You have to engage that book, that word with the world that we're in. We have to look at what man is doing, what man has done. What is being triumphant? What are the things that you can talk about? What are the things you cannot talk about? What are the things that is always thrown in your face and advertised, and what is not advertised? Okay. I think that's about it right now. I've gone a little bit longer than I wanted to, but you could get the rest of my content on my website at www.brooklynbaritone.com. You can also see more of my production and content on my YouTube channel, Brooklyn Baritone. Professionally, I am on LinkedIn. You could also catch me on Instagram and on Facebook. The audio podcast can be found on Google Podcast, Amazon Music under Podcasts, and Apple iTunes Play Store. I am also broadcasting on local Brooklyn cable television on Verizon, Spectrum, Optimum, and RCN 4 times a week on Tuesdays and Thursdays, 12 a.m. and 2 p.m., both on Tuesdays and on Thursdays. Anyways, guys, that's enough. It's more than a mouthful. I hope you guys are blessed. I hope you guys think about what I've said, and I want you guys to walk good. I am out.